Besides, follow the Texas Hype page. Go ahead, pin that comment. Pin that comment. Can I even drop a comment so I can drop a comment here myself? I want people to follow the Texas Hype page. Texas Hype page is going down. We're having boot camp come up. We're also live on YouTube. Follow the Texas Heights. Right? How do I leave a comment here? I don't know how to comment. Follow the Texas Heights. Want to see my charts right now on Nasdaq? We're marking it up. We're seeing crazy ones in the crypto space. Maybe we have a little conversation about crypto as well. I'm going to invite the guests on here as well from Texas Heights to have a discussion. But go ahead and follow the Texas Heights. Follow the business page, or we're going to be teaching you guys how to trade. Hit it by pressing and holding. I can do it. This comment. Well, I don't want to pin this. I want you to say follow the page. Maybe put it there, follow the page. Follow the page, you know how to trade, something like that. Who can put something, some type of comment? I'll pin that. Follow the Texas Heights trade. Our goal is to help two people today on live. Two people that want to trade. I want you guys into the Texas Heights. All right. So we're about to do some wonders on these charts. All right, we're also live on YouTube as well. Let me go ahead and mark this up, right? Nasdaq. This one's gonna be a little bit boring. I'll be real with you guys. It's gonna be a little bit of me really focusing and locking on the charts. But one thing I can say is last week we consolidated. It's 4 stages of the market. There's consolidation, expansion, retracements, reversals. And we consolidated last week. So going into this week, it's a bullish market. Consolidated this week. So last week. So going into this week, the question is, are we going to retrace or are we gonna retrace or are we gonna reverse fully, right? So I feel like the market's gonna drop lower. Sorry, I'm gonna retrace or expand. But I think this week we're going to see the market drop somewhat lower, and then maybe next week or 2 weeks the market will go high. So that's the expectation because we consolidated already at highs. The question is, what do we do next? If you're just trying to trade all the Texas Heights, there we go. All the Texas Heights, and we are going to have live discussions. It's going to be lit. Okay, so YouTube. Let me go ahead and focus on marking my charts now, guys. All right, guys. So it's always important, and this section we're going to cover trading psychology. In trading, the most important thing is really psychology. So in this one, we're going to cover a couple things that'll help you guys as you're running heists and allow you the understanding so the first time we're going to do here that you can garner from even your losses and your wins. This is a very important section. I personally, the Bag Snatcher, believes that this section is actually the most important one because at the end of the day, you can have a solid strategy, but without your psychology, it doesn't really matter. The separation between the winners and the losers is your ability to manage your mental framework. Let's go ahead and dive into this one. You have boot camp coming up. Can't express that enough. So quickly, mission briefing. 5 things we're going to cover. Psychology over trading secrets. Managing risk when losing and winning. Fear. Greed. And 6K a week. So if we talk about psychology over trading secrets, no matter how much knowledge you acquire, what separates the profitable from the unprofitable is their trading psychology. Your ability to weather the storms and keep your emotions under control in different market conditions. There'll be winning streaks when you feel like you're on top of the world and unbeatable. There'll be losing streaks. They're supposed to say losing streaks, but there'll be losing streaks when you start questioning everything you stand for and if trading is really for you. The best thing you can do is always take a step back and make sure that you are following your process. Cutting back risk, increasing risk, knowing when to stop and knowing when to get aggressive is the main battlefield in trading. As a trader, one will constantly spend majority of the time here as real world events like breakups with your girlfriends, boyfriends, family, wife, death, and other unexpected yet expected circumstances make their ways into our lives. At some point, your trading strategy will be solidified. The only thing that will need to remain in a constant state of control is your psychology, which ties into what actions you will take at any given moment. Your ability to control your unforgiving greed and get beyond your fear, or clicking or accepting risk, will determine your ability to be profitable in these unforgiving heights. So let that sink in. At some point, your trading strategy is going to be solidified. The goal is for me in the Texas Heights to teach you strategies. Once that's solidified, the hardest thing is going to be controlling your mind and working with your psychology to get better. You teach a player how to play basketball. But what happens when 2 seconds left on the clock and they're shooting 3 free throws? It might be a 9% free throw shooter, but what happens when it's 3 seconds left on the line? Would it make all 3? That's what we're dealing with. That's what we're talking about when it comes to psychology. So let's talk about next, managing risk when losing and winning. This is an important key element. I feel like this is like the defense of the game. We're gonna get straight to business here on YouTube. Your strategy, knowledge is all attack, 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 attack. That is all attack, right? And we can get that sharpened to the highest level, highest degree, because the markets are controlled, and there's algorithmic principles that we can teach you guys that you should have learned that should give you guidance on how to execute. There's no shortage of that. But what's important is managing your risk, playing defense, 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 defense. So think about that way. Strategy, making money is all attacking. Defense, it's also what wins championships. Think about players full of attack. All they do is attack. If there's no defense, it's hard to win. Same with a team. If a team is all attack, no defense, it'll be hard to win. So we need to understand and master both. Oftentimes, we all start off mastering winning, attack, which I did as well. But the next thing we have to master is defense, which is managing risk. Okay? So let's talk about that. Risk management, right? Some traders manage their risk using percentages, some use contract sizes. I think both could be applicable here, depending on what is most comfortable for you. Quick ideas. 100K account, 1% risk equals to $1,000 risk per trade. And forgive me for some of these weird typos here, but essentially, if you have a $100,000 account, I'll explain and elaborate so you're not confused here. But if you have a $100,000 account, and you're risking 1%, right? That equals to $1,000 risk per trade. So for every trade you take, you're risking 1%, you're risking $1,000. The other way of doing it is you have a 100K account and your initial risk is 10 micros, maybe using contract sizes. It's 10 micros. And as your account increases by each 1,000, your risk can also increase by one contract per $1,000 increase. So if you have $100,000, right? If the account grows to 101,000, then you can add on another contract. As it grows to 102,000, add on 2 contracts. Start off with maybe 10 micros, but per $1,000 increase, you keep on adding contract size, right? To increase your risk, right? So when you're losing, slash your risk in half per losing trade. The markets will take as much as to give. It is unforgiving. So if you're losing, let's just say using a strategy of 1% per trade. If you take a loss on the day, cut back your risk in half. Okay? If you take another loss after your risk cut in half, cut it back in half again. Keep on cutting your risk in half until you're at a point where the trade doesn't really matter. Because sometimes the market might go into a spin, or you might go into a spin because you're not managing psychology correctly, right? Or your edge is not really as sharp as it should be in the moment because maybe the market's consolidating or it's in a certain market condition that the market is very tight and not give you the opportunities that you usually see. You haven't adjusted to that yet. You want to cut back your risk as much as possible. Keep on cutting in half, in half, in half until you then get a winning trade. Then you can slowly increase it back by half and half, until you're back to your regular trading conditions and regular trading size. And you can eventually start going back higher and higher. So that's the defense of the game. When you're losing, cut your position in half and a half and a half. And what sucks about it, the strongest thing you're gonna have to do is, it sounds easier. It's easier said than done, because you're gonna cut your risk in half. Let's just say take a losing trade. Let's talk about it for a second. If you take a losing trade, then you cut your risk in half. So you risk $1,000, and now you lost $1,000. Now your risk is cut to half, and all you have now on the table is, now you're risking $500. If you take another loss of $500, now you're down $1,500. Your next risk should be $250. Let's just say that trade wins, and you're only doing a 1 to 2 risk reward. You're gonna gain back $500 on that trade, so you're still gonna be down the whole $1,000, right? And the next trade, you can increase it again by $500. I mean, to $500 risk. And then if it's 1 to 2 again, you will be back in the green. The only thing is that a lot of traders, a lot of time, us as human beings, want to correct that wrong so quickly. So it might take you 2 to 3 trades to get back to where you started. But the mental battle is going to be, since we always want to make money in the markets, we don't want to take our time to get back to even ground. We don't want to have a week where, hey, I just recovered all the losses I took earlier in the week, so next week I'll be prepared to make money. What we like to do as human beings is, once we lose, we want to gain all that back in one trade. So you have to be careful about the tricks your mind's gonna play on you, and understand that regardless, you can gain all that back in 2 to 3 trades if you take your time, even with cutting your risk in half and half and half. Because a lot of times you're gonna take a loss and you're not gonna want to cut it in half. You're gonna want to increase that risk, because now you feel like it's a better setup. Don't fall into that trap. This is the battle. This is what separates the winners from the losers. Is your ability to manage what happens when you're losing, playing defense. And also when you're winning, let's talk about that. When you're winning, increase your risk. Because again, when you're losing, the market's unforgiving. It will take whatever and everything from you. So you have to play defense. But when you're winning, it's your turn to take as much as you can from the markets. It's your turn to turn up the heat. Just like a basketball player. If there's a basketball game going on, let's just say a bench player is hot from the 3-point line. They're going to keep on constantly feeding him the ball, so he keep on shooting threes more than usual, because they realize he's hot. Same thing in training. When you're hot, you want to take on more risk. Okay? So when you're winning, you also want to increase your risk. Again, this is when you can increase your risk by 50%. At some point, you want to have a cap on it. Maybe by the time you have 5% per risk, you need to relax. That's really massive. I'm not saying you should go that far, but you will decide you get comfortable with that, right? The max I might go is 5% per trade. Or if I'm increasing by contract size, depending on how I feel, my comfortability, I might stop at 30 contracts, 40 contracts, 50, right? The point is, as you're gaining profits, you want to start increasing risk, because that means you're probably trading primetime markets, and you're also sharp as a Swiss knife, right? So you want to make sure you take advantage of that. So remember, reduce your risk when you're losing, increase your risk when winning. Let's talk about fear for a second, right? Fear is the first gatekeeper in trading, and it doesn't whisper, it screams. It creeps in right before the entry that will have hit, right as you're about to size up, right when the market gives you a clean setup. And it sounds convincing. Wait for more confirmation. What if it reverses? You're not ready. The answer to that: follow your process and accept the risk. Don't let fear stop you from taking on a trade that you already know is there. Don't let fear stop you from taking on a trade. You already see all the conditions, every setup, and you're scared to press a button. When you finally press the button, maybe you have extra confirmation. Now the price has moved 20, 30 points away from where you're expected to get into. Your initial entry was. You need to understand, you need to accept the risk. Accept the risk. Everything in life is about risk. Accept the risk and take on the trade, as long as it's giving you exactly what you're expecting in your game plan. That's how you fight fear. Follow your process and accept the risk. We're talking about greed. Greed doesn't feel like a problem at first, until it starts. Until it is, right? It starts off disguised as confidence, but ends with you forcing trades, overstaying positions, and blowing up gains you already had in the bag. It whispers things like, hold a little longer, double up, you're hot right now, don't settle for that small win, go for more. But greed isn't about vision, it's about lack of control. And when you're trading from greed, you're not following your edge, you're gambling. The answer: set your goals and walk away once accomplished. So end of the day, right? Greed could be confidence. That's what it seems like initially. But After all, when I look into it, right, it's just greed and it's lack of discipline and it turns to gambling. This is why it's important, even when you're winning, as much as I said, increase your risk at some point, guys. You have to know when to relax. At some point, how do you know when to relax? Setting goals. If you have a goal set, be able to walk away and accomplish your goals. If you're still in the market, because for some reason you are, right? Significantly reduce your risk. Once your goals have been accomplished, the last thing you want to do is give back those profits in the markets. So you need to control your greed. The way you do that is think about how much money do you need to make to cover your grocery bills, your light bills, whatever that is. Try to maybe target that. How much will it take? How much money I need to make to get rid of my job, my 9 to 5, whatever that's gonna cost. Set goals around that. Why this was going on here? We're gonna go live. I'm pretty about to invite people now, so we're gonna talk about the market, talk about Nasdaq, about crypto, we're gonna talk about everything. But I think it's gonna be a pretty big market size. I mean, I think it's very straightforward so far. I see the market dropping lower on Nasdaq first. Question: do we continue that drop, or do we drop lower and then go higher? We're gonna see. But I see clear drop lower first. So I think price gonna drop lower into this level here on Nasdaq so far. I don't see doing anything else but dropping lower first. I also want to do is I don't know how long. Let me get my settings right, guys. My microphone is just loud enough. Let's do this. Check, check, check. Make this volume thing. All right, I think this is better now. Way better, right? Cool. All right, so guys, so far, if you're on YouTube, what I'm expecting here is some price drop lower. Look at these equal lows price left here. Price left some equal lows at 22,586 on Nasdaq. I think price gonna sweep that. And the question after sweeps here, right? Does it drop even further into 22,400? So that's my expectation so far. We're gonna put in numbers on the board. I get you.
This ain't just us. Rich, angels, those time things. These right.
Follow the text. I don't have that pin. Comment pin. Must have that comment pin. Follow the text sites. Not follow the text sites, man. We are teaching people how to trade. We just want to teach 2, 3 people how to trade. Let's go. And for this week at least, we have boot camp coming up. I'm marking my charts live on YouTube. So if you want to see my actual charts, it's at the Colossal Trade on YouTube. And again, I'm gonna invite people on here. We're gonna talk about the markets as a whole. So just join and welcome.
Oh, nigga, that bitch. When that bitch gone, nigga, that's a lot of things. Trying to be good. All try. Fucking shit. Fucking shit. Me falling off, man, that real side. I might be P. I might be P. I'm a real P.
Real P. Yeah.
Smoke weed, gotta feel me, yeah. Cause I'm so mean. Gotta feel me, cause I'm so mean. Cause I'm so mean. Cause I'm so mean. Oh, fuck it all. I just mean.
All right. I don't invite you, man. Let me invite my guys on here real quick. Let me invite. Let's see if I can invite someone on this live. Sites, man. Let's see. Talk about these markets, man. Can I invite 6 sites on here? How do you do this, man? I'm acting like I'm old and shit. Like I'm trying to figure out how to get people on live, man. Y'all don't judge me here. Let's take a time. Like, on the live real quick. We are lit, markets. We're on YouTube as well. We're allowed to trade, follow the tech site. We're having a boot camp coming up. It's about to be lit. About to be lit. I need to fight people, man. I don't know if I did it right. Also, invite. I don't know. Let me talk about my music for a second too. Talk about this market. Man, I hear some cars in the back. What's that, man? What's that? Yo, hey, turn off the music. I hear the whips. I like the sound of that. Hold on now. I'm alive, but do you hear me? Yeah, I hear you. What's going on, boss? I just want to get PO's ball here. Let's talk about these markets. Let's talk about what we see, what we expecting. How you get PO's ball here, man? It's about to be a lit week. It's gonna be easy chicken, man. Free range organic chicken. Now, I had you. I don't think did you request? Yeah, I requested. Huh. You gotta click request in the says yes. Okay. Bet. Me, I don't think he's even on here right now. I don't think he's on here, but I clicked guess. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see that. We're trying to talk about these markets, man. Like up this video. Let's get the top of the algorithm here. Try to get that one here. I don't know. I don't know how this works, but yeah, he has to request in the guest section. What I want to talk about last week, right? I want to talk about last week what happened, and then our expectation for this week, and then we can talk a little bit about the boot camp coming up. We can talk about crypto. Where we got to take this conversation, and we have this conversation about the markets. That's the main thing. You know what I'm saying? We need to talk about organic free range chicken. So I'm also like keep forgetting I'm live on YouTube, but I'm about to get off the YouTube. At this point, I already marked my charts. I think it's very straightforward. I mean, we can start since he's not here. I mean, I don't really see him on here. I don't see him. So, um, did you were you able to mark up your charts? Yeah, think about 5 minutes. I know, bro. My mouse was. It took me so long because like my computer was glitching, mouse was acting slow. Like, you still haven't got a new mouse? Man, I don't even think it's the mouse. I think it's really the computer itself. So I don't think it's the mouse. I think sometimes the computer's on overload. So therefore, it kind of like stalls out every single movement I make. I know. Okay. For those of you guys watching, so last week was a very interesting week. I'll start it off right. It was very interesting, but yet not interesting, right? Interesting in the sense that all the markets were solid. Why was that? Nasdaq made an new all-time high. Price swept that level. Whenever there's all-time highs, two things need to happen. Either price keeps going higher through the roof, or we start seeing this consolidation factor come into place. And last week, and from my beliefs, right, last week, right, the markets went up and down, it was choppy. Now, from my beliefs, from understanding the markets are controlled by algorithm, meaning there is computer systems that control the market and everything is planned, predicted. So what I realized last week was, as price hit all-time highs, all I did was flip a switch. Say, hey guys, let's go on a seek and destroy. Let's just go ahead and move markets up and down. We're not really going to expand it higher. We're not going to expand it lower. This week's just going to be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And if you understood that, if you're a scalper or if you're someone that likes to trade ranges, this is actually a good week, or last week was a good week to actually take advantage of markets. But for those that are looking for longer term moves, sometimes I look for that. And for me, last week, I was a little bit, it's like I knew what the market's going to do, but I think I wanted more. Like, that was the lesson I learned from last week, like wanting more. And even though I understood that the markets would likely just consolidate, I didn't want to accept it fully. But I accepted it towards the ending of the week, which made my week a cool, okay week for me. I know he had a different experience, but for me, I actually accepted the consolidation later in the week, and I started to realize at the end of the day, the market's ran by computer system, and we're human beings with emotions. So it's going to be harder for you to just always keep track and try to do exactly what the algorithm is doing. But the goal is to be disciplined. The goal is once you see the markets doing what it's doing, the little zigzags, you want to follow around. Markets going higher, take advantage. But anyway, so for me, my biggest lesson was not wanting more, just stick to the goals of 50 points per session. and also executing, understand the markets are in consolidation. Yeah, man. I mean, how do you feel about last week? Um, how do you think the results on the markets and any lessons you learned from last week?
Well, as far as last week, the price fluctuations were absolutely, I don't want to say predictable, but they were predictable, but predictable in a sense to where you knew the market